Stellaris. Let's go for a new strategy guide. It's about exploration. It's about the early exploration. So we're starting a game and it's going to be about everything. It's about the traits. It's about strategies if you want to reach a special goal. It's about how everything works. I just started something random. We're going for fanatic purifiers here. Interesting. Still, it's similar for everyone. Well, maybe there's one goal that you don't have if you go for fanatic purifiers. So what is the goals that you have early on in the game? First thing is to get your habitable worlds, of course. Then you want to get maybe additional science ships to explore faster. You want to find anomalies. Most of them close by, so the area where you settle will be very good. Then you have the question how to expand and where to expand. For that you need as much info as you can get. You might want to find your first friend if you're playing a diplomatic empire, or your first enemy, maybe your first prey if you're an empire like we have here, fanatic purifiers with a shadow council. Wonderful. And then there's some quick exploration strategies for specialized strategies. Then you will learn about the excavations and about sometimes you have an explorer ruler. Right here, for some kind of strange reason, we already have an explorer ruler. And if you want to go really exploring well, that is a great start because the science ship is so much cheaper and the anomaly research speed is so good. So this might really change your strategy towards exploring. It's a powerful trait for a first ruler. And later on, it's absolutely useless. So if you get that early on, it's a blessing. So if you want to go for some kind of achievement, you maybe re-roll the game until you get an explorer and then go for real good exploring, because that can be a huge advantage for your game. So what to start with? What's the first thing you want to go for? So the first thing, you look at your leaders, you look at the traits, and you can see here that we have no real good explorers. I mean, Adaptable is usually quite okay with explorers as they gain a lot of experience, and getting even more experience then just makes them good explorers, because as you can see here, per level your survey speed goes up quite a bit, and then you will have a good explorer in a quick amount of time. But there are other traits. So this guy here, Gafu Talkub, has the meticulous trait. The meticulous trait is extremely good for surveying your early area. So the systems that are close to your capital are the systems that you will expand to. And so what you should really do is get a meticulous guy to research them, because then you'll have a lot of anomalies there, and this might make these systems really good or give you an early boost in any ways. So meticulous is one of the best traits at the start, but not for like going any strategic paths, because you want rather quicker exploration then. But for finding anomalies, meticulous guys are just the best. And very often an anomaly will give you something like +6 on some kind of planet for minerals or things like that. And this really helps at the start. So meticulous is definitely my favorite pick, but there are other picks too. This guy, for example, is a roamer. It's excellent at going quickly into space and like roam free and get these strategic paths surveyed quickly. So if you want to get to some point quickly to claim that for your empire, a roamer is what you want. A roamer is really good at the start, and if you want to get like a chain of system under your control and have enough influence for that, then this is a really, really good choice. And it's a good choice anyway. It's just a great one for the early start. So Meticulous and Romus are the leaders to go for your exploration science ship early on. Definitely really, really good. It's the best. But there are others. So here we have two other examples, and they are rather for the later early game. So these guys, the carefree ones, get anomaly research speed plus 35%, which is really, really useful. Less meticulous than others, so very good when researching anomalies. We come that if we are in the position to split jobs, so that is a very, very good one. If you're in the position that you can split jobs between your exploration scientist and an archaeologist, that will be used maybe even later, or depending on what you play for, early on. Even if you start with the right origin, you get some things for archaeologists to research early on, and starting that early on can really be good. So for that, the archaeologist is really good, either for later or for the start if you are using that origin on the shoulders of giants. So your first goal is definitely to get good leaders for exploration. And you can do that in two ways. The one way is like to force it, just to pick up whomever. Maybe some expendable guys, maybe some adaptable guys, maybe some carefree guys, and then you let it sort it out and you just press for it. Or you're patient and you check every few months here, because every few months you get a couple of new scientists possible. And if you get a good scientist there, then you pick him up and give him a science ship. For that strategy, you should always keep enough Unity in store to pay for the cost, because otherwise they might disappear, like if you don't want it. So if you use that here, you should always keep a reserve of 100 Unity, even if you can, for example, pick one of the traditions here, then you will be down to 0 Unity, and then you will have to wait, in that case here, 4 months until you get 100 again, and then the opportunity might be gone. So if you're going for the patient strategy, which is a really good one, but you need to be attentive for it, then just you need to keep some Unity in store for that. Otherwise, you might miss something great. It's worth noting that this is also good for non-exploration scientists, right? You might get a genius that you cannot otherwise hire. So keeping some Unity as a reserve is definitely a very good strategy early on. So what would be your strategy if you start out? What is the most important thing? It's to get the habitable worlds. We have the Bizarre here, starting on a continental world. So you want to find the first 2 habitable worlds that are usually guaranteed. If you use like default, if you use default, you have 2 habitable worlds, which means like at a maximum of 2 or maybe 3 jumps away, you will find at least 2 worlds that are viable for you to settle on, and these will be of the same type of your planet. Continental world here. So we'll have another continental world here, and somewhere in the vicinity that we see, there will be another continental world. That's very useful to know. And if you get these early on, then you can make very quick colonies, which is a big advantage. So that's always my first goal with early exploration. Find these habitable worlds. For example, we have this one, so we would instantly start to survey there. But yeah, you have a certain sensor range, as you can see, so you can you have some systems already explored. What does explore mean? It means we see the rough planets in there. So if we would have another continental world, we would see it. And if we fly around with our ship here, we see in these systems if they have a continental world or not. Right? There are some systems that are more or less likely. For example, this is a pulsar that you can see, so there will probably not be an habitable world in there. But all the others are definitely viable, and you can search for them. And how do you do that? You just send out to explore. Now, if we would see nothing here, we would definitely go out and explore only. And then note down, yeah, on maybe on a note or on a note on your PC or wherever, where the system is, because as soon as your ship leaves the system again, the information will be gone again. So you need to remember or note it down to make that path. So that's the first use of Explore, is finding these habitable worlds. And if you found one of the habitable worlds, then survey a path to them so you can build outposts to them, and then build the colonies quickly. The first 2 colonies should be built quickly. It's very useful to acquire this early on because it's just free to grab. It's there, you know it's there, and you just need to get it. It's not. It's really good because, yeah, travel time is usually not that much. It's about like 50 days per system, so it's manageable. You can go later in there. But if you go into one of these systems and survey step by step to find these worlds, then you're at a disadvantage because take this system, for example. The base to research one of the things in the sky, like an asteroid or something, is 20 days. And like the average time is about 36 days for something like a moon or a world. Maybe a tiny asteroid is a little bit quicker, but these worlds take like 30 to 40 days. And then you have a huge sum of time that you spend in one of these systems if you just survey. So you want to make sure it's worth it. And worth it is basically uncovering the path to your first 2 habitable worlds. Later you can do it as you want, or after the strategies that I'll also show you. Then you might find anomalies, right? Especially if you have a meticulous guy, you might find anomalies. Well, what do you do when you find anomalies? You research them. No, at the first time, you just ignore them. Just ignore them. Your main goal is to uncover the path to your habitable worlds, and you don't need to research the anomalies to make a system viable for building outposts and colonization. So you don't do it. Just don't do it. It's early on, it is a waste of time. You will be less quick to find and uncover this and settle it if you research the anomalies early on. You can do that later on with guys like these, right? If you have a carefree guy, all the better. If you have a roamer that can quickly research or survey the systems, use him to survey, or use the meticulous guys to survey, and then later on send another ship just to mop up all the anomalies if you want so. But anomalies are something that you can tag, right? So what this means is when you found an anomaly, no one else can find an anomaly on that thing in the sky here. So no one else. So it's your anomaly. You can wait forever to get it. No one else will get it. I mean, it's good to get it before it's in someone else's borders, because then it might be blocked. But in general, if you find an anomaly, it's yours. And with the new updates, these anomalies scale in rewards when your empire grows. And they scale to the moment they are solved, not the moment they are created. So if you find an anomaly early on and just ignore it, and then you have a huge empire and say, hey, I want to research that anomaly now, then it will give you a huge reward because you have a huge empire and the time has passed so much. So there's only one reason to go for anomalies early, is if you're going for a strategy of many science ships and want to use these anomalies to constantly boost you, right? So you don't focus on exploration, but you focus on the boosts that are given to you by the anomalies. And that's also an okay strategy, but to really optimize exploration, ignore the anomalies first and tag as many as you want, because then in the end you will get more anomalies. So you will get more rewards. You won't get these early boosts, But as a sum, you will just get more anomalies total. And especially that should be true for you. Like if you use a meticulous guy to just survey your close-by systems, you'll find a ton of anomalies, but anyone can research these later on, or a carefree guy or whatever. Just make sure that you get all the anomalies out there. So how does finding anomalies work? If you send someone into a system and have no bonuses, like this guy, Artikluk, for example, so he's surveying. What happens there? You have a 5% chance to find an anomaly in the first thing that you find here. Like, for example, that was Bagol. So 5% chance to find an anomaly here. And it scans the next one. Then he has a 5.5% chance. He scans the next thing. Then he has a 6% chance for that. And so on until that ship finds an anomaly, and then it resets to the 5% chance. Now, if you have a meticulous guy, you have a 15% chance. Adding to that, for every thing in the sky that you scan, 0.5% until you find that anomaly. So meticulous is really a huge and enormously huge help for that. It's just fantastic. It's just the best, right? So if you can go for that, just do it. And of course, there's always technologies to improve that, but that's not for like early exploration. For early exploration, you want something different, and that is hidden now in the edicts, right? You have some peace festivals here. We can fortify the border. Let's just give us the peace festivals, and yeah. And that is another perfect example. Don't research that now. Leave it be until you have someone more experienced. Then you'll get also a bonus. And it's just prudent to first explore the systems and survey the systems where you can settle. Then later on, when you have time, the anomaly is yours. There's no need to hurry about it. So what is it that you'll do when you really love exploring? Now, of course, there is something in the edicts. It's not uncovered right now, but it can be uncovered early on. So how do you do that? We'll soon see. Now we'll ignore our own rule of saving up the unity and just take that tradition, right? So we'll take discovery, because discovery is really good to explore early on. To adopt it is really cool, and the next thing is to boldly go. That is also a really good choice if you want to explore. Not survey speed increased by 35%, science ship disengage chance increased by 50%. So if you find that big space monster, your science ship can maybe survive. So it's a good thing. The other things you can ignore for early on exploration, they will not help you in that much. So discovery, really cool. It unlocks the edict map the stars, and the anomaly research speed is increased by 20%. So it's a huge help. Also later on with the anomaly research speed. But the main thing that you want to get is map the stars, as you can see here. We want to map the stars. What does that help you? It gives you an additional anomaly discovery chance of 10%, which is what I just said with the meticulous guys. So you start out with, then with meticulous, you start out with 5 plus 10%. And the same goes if you have map the stars open. So you start with a 15% chance. And if you have a meticulous guy and map the stars, you have a 25% chance to find these anomalies here. That's just incredible. So that means like for every fourth planet roughly, or for every fourth thing in the sky here, you'll find an anomaly. That makes for extremely good systems. It's just a very, very fun thing to have. So you don't have to hurry a lot to get your exploration out first. The main thing, if you want to find anomalies, is getting map the stars first, because if you find anomalies, you find 3 times more anomalies with map the stars. That is something to consider. So if you just want to explore the systems and settle them, that's fine. But if you want to really improve them with anomalies, then go for map the stars. It's because it's a really, really good path to take then. So enough for now about the close by anomalies and map the stars. There's something else I want to show you. I mean, we have something I call strategic expansion paths. What is a strategic expansion path? Now you look at the hyperlanes and then you can see some paths. Like if you control some systems, then you will control the access to some extra systems. For example, we have a simple example here. Our starting system is here. So if we control like that system, and if we control that system, then we also have access to these 2 systems. So we can kind of block them or block a reasonable expansion to them. Now, so the strategic path to claim these 2 systems is not to claim these 2 systems, it's to claim Bagol and Gedexis. And then you have these 2 normally in the bag. Now, if you're directly at the border, like if there was an AI like building here, then what the AI does is they will jump over 1 system. So if you only have Gedexis, that system will not be safe from being settled. They will just jump over there and settle here. But they will like not necessarily settle, or they will usually never settle if you have something in Gedexis, and here they will never settle for Jantris. So that's the way to block the expansion of the AI. So you need to put at least 2 between them and you, or in that case, if the borders were here, it would be enough to settle here and here. And that's the strategic path from Bagol to Gedexis to this pulsar system here. So if you have a neighboring empire here, then you claim that and that and that, and then you've secured these 2 systems from this empire, and you can ignore them until you find the time, until everything else is explored and claimed, and then you can go for these systems if you have closed borders. If you don't have closed borders, they will come in anyways and try to claim your anomalies. So going these strategic paths is mainly blocking the expansion of AIs in there, but not the exploration. So if you want these extra sugars, then you need more science ships, or you need to close the borders, which can be good or not early on. Close the borders to enemies or to empires that will be your enemies early on. That can be important, but it can also be risky. So you have to know what you do. You have to have a ready fleet. You can close the borders. Just be aware that it gives you, it moves you up on the target list, which can be hard on Grand Admiral. So it might be worth giving them the exploration, or just quickly explore that yourself to claim the anomalies in there. So that's the way strategic paths work. Now we can identify other strategic paths here. For example, if I wanted to claim like these systems here, then I would settle this system and this system from this side, this system and this system from this side, and for example this system and this system, and then I would have secured 3 extra systems that I can ignore for now, right? So just settle here, 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 and maybe here, and then these systems are free for you to settle whenever you want. And plan your surveys accordingly. So if you want to grab land, you need to use these strategic paths to your advantage. And especially if you like to play with closed borders, that is an even greater advantage, because then they won't pass your systems and everything will be good. Only much later they will be able to jump over there. So it's not important in the early game. In the early game, you tag your anomalies, so only you can research them later on. And you use these strategic paths to grab systems. And the quicker you survey and most importantly explore space, the faster you can see these strategic paths and see what is good to claim, or what chain of systems will give you the most extra systems in there. So that's another goal of exploration, getting you to these strategic expansion paths. What is the next goal you have? It's to find your first friend. So how do you find your first friend quickly? It can be critical to find your first friend quickly. Why? Because sometimes you get some friendly empires and some not so friendly empires. And then it is important to get contact to all of them. So we have an overview. And if the friendly empires meet other empires early on, they will just claim, or they will just open up some pacts. And if they have enough pacts, they won't let you in on these pacts, so you have no friend anymore. And especially on Grand Admiral with a diplomatic empire, that is something to avoid. So what do? You send out your ship and you don't survey everything like we do here. You just go explore, 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 explore. So if your strategy is based on meeting someone early on and forge an alliance early on, start with improving relations early on. You need to have 1 or 2 ships with some expendable characters on it to just fly into space and find these people. And the good thing is, you will also find your enemies first, so you know where to expand, what to prepare. And that can really be something huge, to know where you need to go. So to have like 1 or 2 ships just exploring deep into space can be a huge advantage early on. So you can get like the first pacts very quickly. You can get first improving relations very quickly. You have something to do for your envoys. I mean, we are xenophobes here, so we don't have many envoys, but you get something to do for your envoys, and they just don't hang around there uselessly. So that's something good to do with 1 or 2 exploration ships early on, especially, and there it's very important. If you have to boldly go, the disengage chance is increased by 50%. So it's much less risky to do that. But it's definitely worth it to send that out to find your first friend and, of course, your enemies. So let's talk about some quick exploration strategies, what I would call them. You have the planet grab strategy. Planet grab means that you, as quickly as you can, find all planets around you to find a path to them, right? And then settle them. So you want to do this if you have some kind of high habitability race, or you're playing a machine, or maybe some lithoids that can settle almost anywhere. So this is a good way. Send out a ship to just explore. Discuss this, like explore is just flying through. And take your notes where these systems are, where the planets are, and then settle them. So that can be just a good thing to grab a lot of planets and like beeline that. It's a side effect of that can be to meet your friends or enemies earlier. So you can combine that if you want to do that. So planet grabbing is definitely a good early on exploration strategy. And it's not necessarily combined with Map the Stars. In fact, it's like more, I want to quickly get planets instead of I want to have good systems surrounding me that support me. So that's two kinds of, two really different poles of exploration that we would go to. But it's a good strategy for early exploration. The other is to split jobs, right? In general, I would recommend to survey along the strategic paths and ignore the rest for later or when you meet other empires, because you meet the empires and chances are like they've surveyed everything behind them and they're now coming to survey yours, so you should not fly into their direction anymore. You just fly back and backtrack everything that you haven't surveyed before, so you're there before them. And but you can also, I've said, like, use the roamers to survey these strategic things. Then start to get other leaders with some different or not really that specialized things to just fill up all the planets, all the systems that you haven't surveyed behind you. And then hire a carefree guy to go for all of the anomalies and so on, because once you have borders around you, the anomaly tagging is over. So you can as well start to research them, but only after you filled in the backlines if you went for the strategic paths, right? So survey the strategic paths. If you meet like borders everywhere, go back and search all the systems that you haven't yet surveyed because you just wanted to basically reserve them for you. So that's the way to get a lot of anomalies, and that's also the way to get a really, really good early starting area, especially if you do that backtracking and the backtracking around your capital with a meticulous one. Meticulous is the thing, and later on carefree is the thing to get all these anomalies and their bonuses that will let you profit from them pretty strongly. There's also a chill strategy. It's just to survey one after the other after you have found your first habitable worlds, and just don't stress out. It's also viable but not as optimized to just survey one system after the other and then the next. And if you want to do it like that, then go just from the closest to the farthest of your capital. And then if you also have mapped the stars, you will at least get a very good starting area, and no one will just jump in and grab basically the anomalies that are in your close-by systems early on. So you secure that area around if you don't use the strategic paths idea. How can you better do that? Of course, always with meticulous guys. Survey people, so roamers are just better for the strategic paths. If you have a meticulous guy, you can apply this strategy, or if you don't want to use map the stars too much, that can also be good, because it doesn't really matter that much then, because you will not get that many anomalies. So it's not that important to grab these strategic paths and grab all the anomalies, because you will, without map the stars and maybe without meticulous researchers, you won't get as many anomalies. So it's really not worth going so aggressively for them. So these aggressive exploration strategies work best with map the stars. Otherwise, they can be even not good. But if they are combined with map the stars and on top of it, cream of the crop meticulous, they can be extremely good. So basically choose your strategy, and if you don't want map the stars, if you want other traditions for you, then discovery if you don't want discovery, then you can just go for the step-by-step approach. It doesn't make a big difference, and it doesn't need a big investment in science ships. But still, I want to recommend tag your anomalies, ignore them at first, and later on only research them, because they will then be also researched a lot better, because you get a huge bonus. You get 1 level of archaeology skill per level of scientist. And of course, maybe later on you will get an archaeologist scientist, and you can just set them into the excavations. Excavations are really something for your territory and for much later on, except you're starting on the shoulders of giants. Then it can be good to start with that early on, to really go for it. Or if you find one of the precursor excavation sites that have something good to catch, or if you have hints for the rubricator system, that can also be extremely valuable to find. So starting the origin story of On the Shoulders of Giants can be a really good idea, and I would personally recommend that because it will net you a really nice buffing. Now you have all the strategic tools at your disposal to get a great early exploration. Please tell me of your experiences, or maybe you also have some cool tricks for quick and efficient exploration that nets you as many anomalies as can. Especially Materialist Empire can profit from that very much, but also you can get a good start with many science ships, surprisingly, with very spiritualist empires, because with that much of unity, you can usually get a lot of leaders early on, which can also be a big help for that. So it's viable for spiritualists, it's viable for materialists for different reasons, and in any case, it nets great results either early on as a constant boost, or later on as grab all the bounty. So have a lot of fun applying these new strategies to your game. Have a great time until next time, and happy gaming. This is Immanuel Khan signing out. See you soon, and have a great time until then.